SWO, Strange World Observer, with your host, John.
Hey, strangelings out there, it is John, and welcome to Strange World Observer, where it is about truth. As we said in the introduction, we were going to seek out the facts and the truth of everything we talk about. And I think what's important for us to do is as we move and navigate this world that we live in, to ask the question, what is truth? I start off going to this question because you have to ask yourself, is truth even possible today? There's two, I think, very scholastic areas that we can look at to define truth and define fact. And those would be the Oxford Dictionary and as well as the Merriam-Webster Dictionary. So let's start with what is a fact. The definition of fact, according to the Oxford Dictionary, is a thing that is known to be true, especially when it can be proven. Merriam-Webster gives a little more robust definition, and so what we find is something that is has an actual existence, a piece of information presented as having an objective reality, and the quality of being actual. What we're saying is this is something that is stated to be true and can be proven true, and that's what a fact is. So what is the definition of truth? According to the Oxford Dictionary, we see that true facts about something rather than things that are made up. It's using kind of its own self to define itself, so it's not all that great. But the Merriam-Webster, again, gives us a little more robust answer when it comes to what is the definition of truth. It says the body of real things, evidence, or facts. The state of being the case. The property as of a statement as being in accord with fact or reality. Again, truth means that you have to find the fact. The fact is the kernel that the truth is based on. It's something that can be proven time and time again. It is something that has a basis in reality and has objectivity to it. So the problem that we have is we live in what's called a postmodernity or postmodern world. Postmodernity is that period that comes after modernity. Yeah. So in other words, we're after the modern. It really kind of became identified as an era after or into the late 20th century. And here's a little definition of it. It says postmodernism, also spelled postmodernism, is a Western philosophy, a late 20th century movement characterized by broad skepticism, subjectivism, and relativism, a general suspicion of reason, and an acute sensitivity to the role of ideology in asserting and maintaining political and economic power. In other words, deny everything, question everything, and don't come up with any answers that are real. It's essentially what postmodern is. And here's a couple of examples. So like in modernity, what you have is an emphasis on thought and logic, whereas in postmodernity, it's on the sense of pleasure or experience, or again, persuasion for experience, argument versus seduction. The dominant public figure in the modernity is ideology, where the dominant public figure is advertisement. In other words, it's sensation, it's selling, it's not really the persuasion with logic and truth. It's a persuasion to get you to move to buy something, to buy an idea, to buy a product. Then you also see that there's a struggle for freedom in both. One is external in that freedom and one is more internal in that freedom. And so let's look at a couple areas that this is, like, for example, order versus fluidity. When we say there's an order to things, we know the old argument that you can never really come to, depending upon where you're from, is what came first, the chicken or the egg. If you are a religious person, you believe the chicken came first because God created the animals. If you are not, if you're into biology, if you're into more of a scientific explanation in modern terminology, and I put that in air quotes because I do believe that some scientists actually are trying to prove the existence of God. So, but in a generalized speaking way, you have this idea that order comes. So science would say that the egg could have been first, or at least the zygote could have been first, and it found an egg to impregnate and then become the chicken. I can tell you I wasn't there, and you weren't either. It's one of those paradoxes. However, but they do say that there's an order of things. You don't just walk into a barn one day, find a bunch of chicken eggs, and never had a chicken, and don't have any chickens around. That order comes. Or you don't plant a lemon tree and get an orange. You don't plant grass and get trees. You see that there's an order to things. Fluidity is that modern argument, and it's not really related to the topics that I've spoken about. It's more related to the idea that one can be gendered as opposed to sexed. That you can have multiple genders. You can be fluid in that gender identity and in that core. So there's more fluidity even in the ideas of facts. And so you run into this idea that as long as I maintain what I think and I can kind of back it up, I can believe in this, and then tomorrow believe in that. And it doesn't make a difference. So science and quasi-science is something that I've listed. We go into just a real quick example. You have something like climate change, and you'll have scientists that say yes, scientists that say no, and the quasi-scientist is that I'm only going to listen to one side. I'm only going to listen to the side that says yes, or I'm only going to listen to the side that says no. That's a quasi-science. Science takes, if we're talking about true science, it takes in the scope of all studies and tries to come up with an answer based on that. And so we kind of live in this postmodern world where my science backs up my facts, your science backs up your facts, and we deal with it from there. And again, we're in a place where emotion is over facts. I think this is the biggest thing that we run into is that people are so emotionally, there's been a study recently that people are so emotionally triggered, and I don't mean that triggered in a bad way. Their emotions are triggered, and so at that point they rely on the emotion and don't look to logic, don't look to reason, and don't look to find the facts of the case. So when we say that what we're looking for is truth, we're going to have to do away with postmodern thought. We're going to have to actually go back to modernity, to the modern idea of rational thinking and reasoning. And so that's going to be what we're going to practice here on the Strange World Observer. I hope you had a little entertainment with this idea and the journey between fact and fiction, as far as fact and reality and truth and reality and anything else. And that's what we're going to be striving for. And I hope you've enjoyed the show. May the facts be ever in your favor.
Thank you for listening to the Strange World Observer podcast. If you like what you heard, hit the like button. Feel free to share the cast with others who are seeking a different voice. The podcast has been produced by yours truly. Music by Polyphonetic on Luberman.com. Again, thank you for listening. Have a wonderful day.